Cyno is finally here, and today we're going to talk about how to build him. So first, let's talk about the weapon, starting from the free-to-play option. The best free-to-play option for Cyno will be the White Tassel, Titan Crossspear, Moon Piercer, and Missive Wind Spear. White Tassel will be the easiest to obtain, especially a new player, because you just need to explore leeway to get him. So this weapon is very good for early player, even at endgame, for free-to-play weapon option. Next is Kit and Crossspear. Although this weapon deal a bit less damage than White Tassel, Kit and Crossspear will provide you more energy particle, so if your Cyno doesn't have enough ER, this weapon will help you with your ER problem. Moving on, next is Moon Piercer. This weapon has similar damage to Kitten Crossspear, but instead of giving more particle, this weapon will drop like a small orb. After you take the orb, it will increase your attack by 16% at Revival 1, up to 32% at Revival 5. For the last one, Massive Wind Spear, you can get this weapon by doing Ballad and Brew event. I really recommend using this weapon if your White Tassel is not at Revival 5. And you can get Revival 5 of this weapon easily just by completing the event. Also, the passive of this weapon is perfectly fit for Cyno, by increasing your attack and elemental mastery for 10 seconds after you proc your elemental reaction. Now we're done talking about the free-to-play option, so let's talk about what is the best weapon for Cyno. I'm just going to explain a bit for each weapon, and I will show you the weapon ranking table later. Scarlet Sand is no doubt the best weapon for Cyno because this weapon kit is designed specifically for Cyno. Also, weapon that give you crit rate or crit damage is a very good option for Cyno because you can go wrong with either weapon like Deathmatch that has a very high crit rate, Blackcliff and Homa will give you crit damage, and Cyno can easily stack Jade Spear passive. Calamity Queller is also a solid option. But a weapon like Skyward Spine, Vortex, or Dragonbane can be useful in a certain situation, like Skyward Spine is pretty good if you only play one Electro on your team because it gives you energy recharge, and don't forget the amazing passive the weapon gives you, like increasing your crit rate and attack speed. Vortex is good if you have Shielder on your team like Zhongli or Diona and many other. And as for Dragonbane, this weapon is actually pretty solid for Cyno Hyper Bloom team because it has a ton of EM and increase your damage when the opponent affected by Hydro. Now, I will show you the weapon ranking that I got from Cyno Discord main. All the credit goes to the Theory Crafting team, and if you're interested, you can join and want to see the full version of the list, you can check on my description. As you can see on the list, Scarlet Sand, even at Revival 1, is already beating every single weapon available, followed by Revival 5 Jade Spear. If we take a look at Revival 1, Jade Spear is actually the second best weapon for Cyno, followed by Staff of Homa, Deathmatch, Calamity Queller, and Vortex. And if you see the Revival 5, Deathmatch at Revival 5 is actually beating Staff of Homa at Revival 1, and also White Tassel at Revival 5 is actually beating Vortex, Calamity, Detain, and Missive Wind Spear at Revival 5. Also keep in mind this weapon testing is using Forset Gilded Dream and EM Sense. For the full version of the list, you can check on my description. Now, let's talk about the artifact. There are a couple options Cyno can use. For example, Forset Gilded Dream, Forset Thundering Fury, Forset Thunder Shooter, and Forset Gladiator. Outside of that artifact, you can also combine two-piece set like two-piece Gilded, two-piece Wanderer, two-piece Gladiator, two-piece Thundering, or two-piece Thundering Fury and two-piece Gilded or Wanderer. To decide what artifact and what main set you should use, there are a couple things to consider. First is your weapon. If you're using a high base attack weapon, they usually prefer attack set. Example for this weapon is Jade Spear and Calamity Queller. And if you're using a low base attack weapon, they usually prefer EM Sand. Example for this weapon is White Tassel and Deathmatch. Second thing to consider is your substat. Sometimes using a better substat on off-piece set will provide a better damage than using 4-piece set but having a bad substat. Now I will explain every 4-piece set for Cyno. First is Yield the Dream. This set is probably his best set, especially if you have his signature weapon, because not only it increase your elemental mastery but also your attack and elemental mastery to your team. So this set is pretty good overall for your team comp. Second is Thundering Fury. This set can be the best option for Cyno if you don't have his signature weapon, because this set allow you to use his elemental skill more than 6 times. But you need to learn a proper rotation for this set, because if you messed up just like 1 second, it will completely destroy your rotation. So you need a lot of practice for this set. Third, Gladiator. This set is probably the easiest to obtain because they already exist from the beginning of the game, so you probably have a ton of it. Not only it increase your attack, but also your normal attack damage, which is good for Cyno because Cyno deal a lot of normal attack on his rotation. Fourth is Thunder Shooter. This set is pretty decent option for Cyno because it increases your electro damage by 35%. But the only downside of this set is you need a very specific team comp and not many variation to play, because if you put too many element, it will mess up the artifact passive. Now for the stat you want for Cyno, the goblet should be electro damage. No matter what artifact or weapon you're using, the stat should be electro damage for best possible outcome. And for the circlet, it depends on your weapon and artifact. If you already use crit rate weapon, then use crit damage circlet and vice versa. And how much EM do you need for Cyno? If you're using his signature weapon, then I recommend getting around 330 EM at least. But if you're not using his signature weapon, then I recommend getting 250 EM at least. For ER requirement, you can take a look at this table I got from Cyno main Discord. Top section is ER requirement if you're using Thundering Fury, and bottom section is ER requirement if you're not using Thundering Fury. Remember that this ER requirement is if you want your burst to be uptime. Now we're done talking about the artifact section. I want to talk about the constellation a bit. If you ever considering want to get constellation for your Cyno, then I recommend getting C2. As you can see on my screen right now, C2 have the most value out of any other constellation. That is because you can gain up to 50% electro damage at C2. So that is going to improve your damage by a lot. For the talent priority, you should focus leveling up his burst and then his elemental skill. You don't have to level up his normal attack because the burst and normal attack have different multipliers. So even at you can just make it stay at level 1. It's also okay. Okay, that was it for my Cyno build guide. Thank you for watching. If you think the video is helpful, consider to give it a like and subscribe because it will help out my channel. Also, I live on Twitch, so if you're interested, you can follow me on Twitch. The link will be on my description. And don't forget to leave a comment if you have any question or if I'm giving wrong information. See you on the next video.